Are you ready to dominate? Because it's time. From Philly to Vegas, Canada to Peru, and everywhere in between. It's time for the podcast that makes the offseason suck a hell of a lot less. From the creators of Dynasty Depot, the internet's only live auction site for Dynasty fantasy football teams. Here's your hosts, Nelson Verbit and Rick Taylor.
How are you? My name is Nelson Verbit, and welcome to the Dive Into the Depot show. Tonight, my friends at Roster Watch, they go with the all business edition, and we're going to just copy them a little bit. And this is the no bullshit edition, going right down to business. We got a very special guest tonight. But first, no bullshit, no intro. Bring him in, Ruthless Rick Taylor. How are you, brother?
Hey, man. I'm good, Nels.
Good, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm ready to go. We got a bunch of cool stuff to talk about tonight. Going to dive into the Dynasty Depot a little bit. We got a great customer, fan of the show, wanted to come on, and he's got a lot of great stuff to talk about. So we're going to get into it tonight, brother.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Without any further ado, no bullshit. Fantasy Heather, where are you?
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
So my first question for you tonight, Heather, is exciting when you got the show sheet and you didn't see a WTF tonight.
Super exciting.
Super exciting.
Super exciting, except I actually had one ready to go, but it's fine. I'll save it.
And then I cut it out this week.
And then you cut it out, which is super typical. So that's fine.
Super typical. How are things in Rick Taylor's world? Everything good? How's the drafting going?
Drafting's going well. I got 3 or 4 in progress right now. Made a couple mistakes on one, but so I'm trying to recover it. But
it's very rare. It's very rare you make mistakes. I'm sure you will recover. How about you, Heather? You drafting anything right now?
Yeah, I got some good ones. I'm up in a couple minutes, so I'm gonna have to go because I have a pick. So
you're on your OTB.
I'm on the clock. What is it called?
OTB, OTC, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Good. Heather, let's see if we can get this right. Season 1, episode 11.
Episode 11 of Live-ish is brought to you by Dynasty Depot, the world's only auction site for buying and selling FFPC Dynasty teams. Each membership you get will give you access to buy and sell exclusive Dynasty teams. Use the promo code NERDS50 for an exclusive offer. So you'll go to Dynasty Depot, use the promo code NERDS50 to get 50% off any Dynasty Depot annual membership. Then we will send you a exclusive promo code for a free Dynasty Nerds membership.
Outstanding. So Rick, we've been over the last couple of weeks, we've been invaded by the nerd herd. Joining up with memberships, huh? They're leaking over here slowly but surely.
Yeah, I've seen some new names pop up, seen some teams go off. It's a good sign.
The nerd herd, we are big fans over there. We love those guys, and using Nerds50 right now. What a great promo code! It's probably our best promo code. 50% off of any membership. That'll get you, Rick. That'll get you all the way through till next April, right? So you're through the season. You're through the hot part, the craziness, and you're getting a Dynasty Nerds membership. I'm not sure there's a better deal out there than that. The $50 value. So you can actually get a rookie membership with us for $49, $50 off. It's $25, and you're getting a $50 Dynasty Nerds membership. And now they have that new GM tool, which incorporates FFPC, integrates FFPC in there, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree. Been using it a lot this week, looking at my team, seeing where to make moves before the draft. Their rankings also, they have the rookies in there, so that's been helpful in some of these startups.
And what about you telling me that when you go into their GM, they import all of your teams, right? And then it gives you the ranking of the team in that particular league. Is that correct?
Yes. So you say you have, 30 teams. It'll each one list you, tell you where out of the 12 they rank your team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a great promo. That's Nerds 50% off Dynasty Depot, Nerds 50. Heather email you a code. Is that correct, Heather?
Right. So then we'll send them a code. They plug that on the Nerds website.
Cool. Very cool. Let's get into it. So this week, this guy writes me, I'm a big email guy, right? I love when people email me and stuff. It makes me really happy. Yeah. I guess he didn't see the previous show of Don't Fucking Email Me. Okay, I'm not going to answer you, but
Nelson, it's fan mail. It's fan mail. That's exciting.
It doesn't matter. You can have my phone number. You pick up the phone and give me a call. Don't email me, and good God, don't text me. Okay, and Rick can attest to this. Rick, how long does it take me to text you back? I'm busy. 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's a while. We've heard you type it on the keyboard too, when I'm on the phone with you trying to type a message.
You go to the dictionary, you look up chicken pecker, and my name's in there. Okay, that's my face. I'm chicken pecker, man. It's horrible. Call me. Love to talk to anybody. So this guy emails me. So the first thing I want to do is delete, but then I start reading it. So, and he's obviously a fan of the show, and he obviously knows what he's talking about, and I recognize him as a customer, so you don't want to be rude to customers, right? So we start talking back and forth, and he had a lot to say. I'm like, this guy would be perfect for the show because we're going to be talking about Dynasty Depot tonight. We're going to be talking about strategies and stuff like that. What's better to have one of your customers give his input of what's happening out on the street? We understand what's going on in Dynasty Depot. It's a clusterfuck, and we know that. That's great. They don't know that. But maybe we'll give and take.
They do.
Right. Like Rick's sitting there. He's like, fucking clusterfuck. All right, here we go.
Where's the button?
We're not using the mute button. We only got 3 shows left. We get away with whatever we want to. Here we go.
Are we going to get canceled?
Yeah. This ain't cable or nothing, man. So here we go. So this guy, I want to bring in a very good customer of ours. Now we consider him a friend of Dynasty Depot. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff. Mr. Jared Hines, welcome, sir.
Hi there, Nels. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, it's great. It's great to have you. Thanks for hitting us up. I'm only teasing you about the email. I'm really not, but we're going to tell you we are. So let's get in. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and I'm excited to hear your views and opinions. I'm kind of going to play you and Rick against each other a little bit tonight because I want to hear what 2 masters of the game have to say, on similar subjects because, there's white and there's black and there's red and there's green and, people like different flavors. So here we go. So first of all, how long you been playing on FFPC, brother?
Well, so I've been playing FFPC since 2014. Okay. And I started playing Dynasty at the same time. So I cut my teeth in Dynasty pretty much in this format. Okay. But the biggest example of that is a league I played in. We did the startup in 2015. And it's FFPC rules, but it's very customized. And it was set up to be a 6-year league. So we did the startup in 15. We just had the 2020 as the final jackpot season, which is a different twist, right? But half of the annual buy-in went into escrow for this 6th and final year. But the other big twist is that it's actually 96 teams. It's 8 individual 12-team leagues. And they each operate independently, but for the playoffs each year, the top 4 seeds have a 2 weeks points race in weeks 15 and 16.
Fun.
And so you can have teams in multiple leagues because they operate independently. So I had 5 teams in there that I was managing over the course of that time. But one of those squads, I took the title in 2018. And these are only little $60 buy-ins, so it's kind of muckety-muck. But that's good for $1,000 for first place. And here in 2020, I three-peated with that squad. I mic dropped the league on the way out the door.
Nice.
$5,000 with the.
Nice. Let me ask this: how many Dynasty teams do you have right now?
28.
So
no, 29.
Okay, that's pretty good, right? So you're looking at me and Rick. Between us, probably have about 120 right now. it goes high and low, but it's hard to manage those teams, right? It's a project. So in one of your conversations with me, and me and Rick have had this conversation. So when you said it to me, it kind of hit a note here about like last year when I was carrying 82 teams, like how do you do this on Tuesday? You need a secretary, you need an intern or whatever. So you said with 28 teams, intern. So we thought we'd get Heather with a help wanted.
Nice.
You can get your own fantasy Heather to do your drop and ads on Tuesday for you. I think you can carry more teams, brother. What do you think?
I mean, that's right. I mentioned that to her actually earlier today when we were chatting, the idea of hiring an intern or an assistant, and I'm actually pretty serious about that. I have a list of about a dozen different kind of tasks that I can delegate to somebody, but I'm also
Jared, does this lady not look like she's serious? She put the help wanted ad right there. Right now.
We can talk.
I made it for you. And Jared, Fantasy Heather is not trademarked. So if you happen to hire somebody named Heather, you can still call her Fantasy Heather if you want, because we didn't trademark.
Heather, maybe you can rent out mini Heathers to people like Jared that do their drops and ads on Tuesdays.
I could do that. I
love it. Mini Heathers. Sorry, let me ask you a question, Jared. So how and when was the first time you heard about Dynasty Depot?
Well, at some point towards the end of the 2020 regular season there, in whichever league or two it was that I'm in on the FFPC platform, it may have been you, I'm not sure, but somebody said, hey, there's this promo code for Dynasty Depot. It's going to be this new, site that teams are sold on, bought and sold on, et cetera. And, I saw the message in a couple different leagues, but I didn't necessarily think much of it. But then once the season actually rolled over and I saw the message again, I'm like, okay, what is this about? Because I've never really bought, like, say, orphans through the FFPC site. For the most part, I'm more interested in, doing a startup and building the team I want to build. But I've taken on a couple, like, orphan projects over the last few years. And that big league that I was talking about that we just disbanded, I mean, I just wiped, like, 6 teams off my ledger. And I was actually commissioner of that for the last 3 years, too, which is sort of coincidental because I also took the title. But I just moved a lot of stuff off of my fantasy football plate this last year. And so then you guys came along, I see Dynasty Depot, and okay, I'll check this out. And I'm looking at these teams for sale with my lens, my eye that I'm looking with. I'm like, these are winning teams, or at least competitive. I mean, I can, maybe there's a couple weaknesses that I feel like I, can help with. I bought some teams that, in my opinion, were drastically underpriced. I think there's owners that just wanted to get out, or, they tried FFPC for like 1 year. They drafted McCaffrey, so their season went in the toilet, and now they're ready to move on. But I'm looking at their team and their assets, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. And so it was, and some of these teams, I mean, one of my best teams that I bought, I think, is, at the $250 level, I bought it for $10. I mean, it's just stupid.
Right. Don't steal my thunder as we get down the road here. I'll ask the question. You're going to stay on subject, or this show's going to be over in 3 minutes, man. You can steal all my stuff from me. So let's talk about this. Some feedback stuff here, Rick. And one of the things Rick and I discussed, and we actually talked about this with the FFPC people, because we are very, you think what you want. We're kind of by the book people, Rick and I, and we want things to be right and kosher. And we were worried launching Dynasty Depot in the beginning that it was going to break up the continuities in the league. Okay, that people were going to get upset. I've been with these 12 guys the last 5 years, and now they're in and out owners, this, that, and the other thing. I thought it was going to be a negative. FFPC people said what you wanted to say about the freshness. Talk to us about that. When a guy buys Dynasty Depot and now he's in an established league, what do you think that does for the league?
Yes, me or Rick? I'm sorry.
I'm asking you right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's almost a mathematical absolute. The person that sold the team is less interested than the person that bought it. I mean, granted, people are trying to flip teams and stuff like that, but I mean, like generally speaking, the buyer is almost mathematically like they are more interested. They're going to bring energy to it. Now, maybe they're terrible at it, but at least they're active. They're going to be trying to make their team better. Nobody's playing to lose. I mean, you can, if your team is really, really bad and you're trying to, sort of tank for draft picks or whatever, that's a strategy, I suppose. But the other 99% of the time, people are trying to win and make their team better. Even if they're just looking to flip it, they're still bringing a level of activity and interest that is all in the spirit of improvement.
Right.
So,
now, Rick, go ahead, because we had extensive conversations about this stuff. Now that we're down the line, we're an established product, we're out there with the people. How do you think they're reacting to when Dynasty Depot, where teams are popping in and out of leagues? Sometimes the same teams trading owners 3-4 times, popping in and out of the league.
Yeah, I think and Jared mentioned there was an angle that we actually didn't talk a whole lot about. Is what I'm seeing now is whenever somebody new does come into a league, they're on the message board. Hey, new, looking to make some moves. You're not buying a team on Dynasty Depot, and to not. Because you're not into Dynasty and looking to make moves. So, yeah, those people bring some new energy. I actually like to see the turnover rather than it gets stale. Nobody's, moving their players. Your team's stuck. You get a new guy in and he shakes things up. And I've seen that a lot. And it's a good energy to the league.
I see. I agree. And I was worried about that. It was a big concern of mine when we were starting this thing out. But that's what happened. As soon as they come into the league, they put a message on the message board. I like to do that, Rick. Put a message on the board, hey, I'm here. And they're looking to make moves. And a lot of times, there's 3 or 4 teams in every league where you don't even send trade offers out because they're not even on during the off season. You look at the activity on the front page, see this guy hasn't been on since cut day. Why even send something out? So it's a good point. I think Dynasty Depot has actually helped that, and the owners of FFPC actually agree with that. So I believe I'll go to Rick with this. The numbers we've sold over 1,500 teams, right around in that neighborhood, right? Somewhere in there. Okay. So I think the number is about 10. One guy, actually, the number's probably 50, but one guy was probably 40 times that he bought a team and did not claim it. Okay, I'm going to tell you that of 50 times, 40 times was one guy, and we took care of that situation. Right. So Jared mentioned to me, what can be done about that, about teams, somebody not claiming their team, bidding up. You wasted the owner of the team's time. Other people are bid, the excitement of the good team, and then the team goes unclaimed. Now I'm telling you, I don't know what the percentage is, Rick, but 10 times out of 1,500 is not a lot, but it does happen occasionally. Talk to us about that, Rick. Our concern over that.
Yeah, I think you post a team up on the site and you're watching the bid go up. It's very, it's a real negative view when it gets to the price and it doesn't get claimed and then you have it back again. So we monitored that quite a bit at the beginning, and we still do. And like you said, we took care of one of the cases, and it hasn't been as much of a problem as I thought it was. It seems like we're seeing people when they bid on teams and buy teams are claiming them now. And that's what we want to continue. We'll continue to look at it, monitor it so it doesn't happen, because it's a bad.
See, Jared, and Heather, you remember we wrote pretty straightforward note to our customers, stop doing it. We don't hold anybody's money, okay? We don't store your credit card like eBay, and if you claim it, we're not doing that, okay? We're a small community, right? Dynasty people are a small community. There has to be some trust factor and good business. Have we already cut some people off the site? Yes, we have. So we're not giving a lot of wiggle room with that. We refund your money right away, say thanks for coming. We don't need you here, okay? They're bad for the community. But like I said, we're not holding credit cards and ringing up your teams. That's a whole other animal. Okay, we're not. That's not for us. All the money is obviously transacted, as you know, on FFPC. They're not gonna deal with that business. So it's a good faith thing, and it's really been a very small problem. There was one guy that did it 40 times, and he's no longer with us. All right, let's move on, my friend. Okay. We kind of know the answer to this. Is DD a cyclical business? There's obviously our first year here, so we're finding out the hot seasons, when things pump up, when they don't. Okay, are you as a customer, Jared, are you noticing when it's busy or not on the site? Can you tell those times?
Well, I'm paying attention to that, and I'm trying to get a pulse for that. I think a lot of that is tied to the FFPC calendar itself. Yeah. Like I mentioned to you a little earlier, how I think that time period between the Super Bowl and when trading opens back up until the cutdown day at the end of March is an incredibly robust period of trading, and the market dynamics are so unique. For me, I'm trying to buy teams during that period of time and take advantage of that market. But as far as activity, like say throughout the year, I'm really curious to see how that plays out myself. I mean, now look, there's, like you said earlier, everybody's approach to this might be different. I mean, what works for me is not necessarily going to be relevant for somebody else. But like right now, I probably wouldn't be as excited to buy a team because I can't take advantage of that early off-season period of time. Now prices have gone up, and it's harder to like say, move up in the draft and acquire picks. And at this point, with all these teams I bought, I'm like, I just want to focus on scouting and, the rookie draft mania that's about to be upon me. But, does that level of thinking apply to other people out there? I don't know. I mean, maybe other people want to buy stuff right now. I think, notice that right now there's a lot of teams for sale that are maybe a little bit more on the premium side, whereas earlier I was trying to take advantage of teams that I think were more of a value purchase, and then what happens after the rookie drafts? That's even less fun for the new owner to have, because they're not going to be able to participate in the rookie draft. So if they buy a team in like say June, then they're basically just waiting until that first waiver run of the preseason. And so I don't know what to expect. I mean,
it's funny because we didn't know what to expect. Obviously the first 60-day 90-day euphoria, new product, new thing, it was insane. You have to also know that, I believe I'm right, Rick, when I say we had probably less than half the members we have now.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, right.
Right. And we had all of that action going on. And I think what you're saying is really right, that this really runs off FFPC, right? So right now, it's actually busy right now, but it went when people knew maidens were starting to pop. First of all, what happened was everybody saturated themselves, okay, with tons of buying, selling, everything, right? And now the maiden season comes and maybe you've bought 15 teams off the depot, right? You're going to slow down and now you're going to draft some. Now we're starting to see the maidens all popping up there, right? Now they're not fetching the premium that some of the other teams did because they don't have the luxury and the fun of drafting all these picks that people were posting up there. So I think what you're seeing now is actually better bargains on the site. You're seeing realistic prices on the site where you're seeing a $250 and the guy did a great job drafting and he's asking $329 for it. Why? Because he just wants to sell it and draft another team and make some money and keep moving and rolling, which we're going to get into the flipping stuff talking soon. Rick, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think you did two interesting things there. The whole, I think somebody mentioned on a previous show, is every drafter thinks they can always draft a better team. So I may draft a team and there was one pick I wish I'd had back and now I'm putting it up. Yeah, it's a $250 team. I put it for $299 and it's a pretty good team, but I want to draft another one. I don't want to keep accumulating. So there's a lot of that going on, I believe. As far as the cycle, I think people are holding teams now because they do want to take part in that rookie draft.
Right.
Early on, you were buying teams that had all these picks because it's fun. You get the draft day and you get the rookies. But I think after that, the playing field is going to be level where everybody only has 22 picks. The maidens, the old teams, 2022 picks.
And that'll be the sum. That'll be what's on the site in the summer.
Correct.
That's what will be there.
And I think you're going to see a lot more stuff. Go ahead, Heather.
Go ahead, Heather.
The thing is, it's interesting is there's teams that are sold every single day. Like every day, teams are being sold on this site. Like I every day. Doesn't even, I mean, some days there's more, some days there's less, but every single day something's, changing hands, which is
it is. And all that's really saying is the proof of concept is correct. Okay. What we've created is correct. How we build it from here really is directly tied to the membership. See now, and we'll just let people in on this shit because it doesn't really matter. We have a lot of new members right now and a lot of Dynasty Nerds members right now. And you got to remember, these guys are coming over, and we love you and we appreciate it, but they're coming over with no inventory, okay? They're buying. And what's happening is the cheap 77s, the $20 teams, the $29 teams, these guys are buying these right now and trying to get on the FFPC platform, try it out with smart, like you don't come in buying a $12.50 when you don't know what's going on. And that's what's happening. We're getting a lot of dabblers and new guys. But in the long run, all these new guys now are going to have teams next year to sell. And it's going to create a much bigger market. When we open the 2022 market, we will have more than 3 times the people when we open the market this year. So it's going to lead to more mass chaos next year. So it's a good thing. We're going to move on, but it's a good thing right now. Has it slowed down off those first 60, 90 days? Yeah. But like Heather said, the other day, 15 teams sold. Well, that's still 15 teams, a new owner, bringing new action to leagues. And probably, a lot of them are new owners that weren't with FFPC to start with, which is really a good thing. That's how the ball really rolls on Dynasty Depot. New members, new FFPC people. That's how the party becomes bigger. Right, Rick?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Okay, let's talk about selling and flipping. My favorite thing to do. So when Rick and I came up with this genius idea, drinking wine, I remember saying that this is going to end up being like a mini stock market for fantasy football. And it has happened like that. Okay. I know plenty of people that are just drafting, buying, selling, flipping. I told Jared before, and Rick knows this, I've seen one team up there 6 times now. It's going on at 6 owners right now.
How many times have you bought it?
I bought my own team twice, and you did it once.
I did.
Where I posted a team, Heather, sold it, guy made a change, posted it, and I bought it back for more than I sold it for earlier. It's only happened twice to me and once to Rick. Okay, when you're bidding on hundreds of teams, it gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
But, Jared, strategy on DD when you're looking to flip a team, okay? Are you looking to buy a premium team and continue to make it better and go for the big money? Or are you doing like I think you said you were doing earlier, you're looking for those $10, $20 teams, looking to sell them and flip them for higher price?
Actually, no, not really. I'm looking to win the big money, make these teams competitive and better for 2021, and I'm not likely to flip or sell any of them at least until 2022. Just like you said, at the beginning of next offseason, it's going to be a bonanza, more members, more teams up for sale. I'm going to be one of those. I'm going to have probably a bunch of these teams up for sale, but I'm going to try to win with them first. And so as far as my approach, this again has something to do with the FFPC.
Because what you're saying is really also smart because you are paying way under the league fee.
Yeah.
Why not try to win? And that increases your profitability, correct? You're paying $20 for a team that was 77.
I mean, I only bought a couple that are that cheap. I mean, like if I see a team that's that cheap and it's got the assets that I like, that I feel I can do something with, then yeah, I'm going to pull the trigger. But there's other teams that I did pay a small premium on, and I'm not really trying to do that. I'd rather buy the value ones. But there are a couple premium teams I bought, and I paid $3.99 for a 250, and that was the most that I've gone up, and that was probably more than I even want to. It's a good team though. But listen, with FFPC, perhaps more than other formats, I believe you can turn the crappiest team in the league around in 1 year. Now, it's not likely. There's a lot of things that have to go right, but I believe you can turn it into a competitive team anyway in that first year, no matter how crappy it is, because of the format.
And that's the 16-man touchdown roster, which is what makes that doable, right?
So I realize it's not necessarily going to happen that way, but that's my approach. I feel like I can make these teams competitive and win some cash with the big prize pool at the end of the season, and then try to flip it if I decide I want to move on from that one, maybe take on a couple more startups, whatever. But it's not necessarily like a one-size-fit-all approach to how I see these teams when I decide to make a purchase or not. And let's not underestimate the impact or the factor of being like a kid in a candy store on a shopping spree. Okay, I can get into the analytics of, this team has this much franchise value, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking of it like a stock market, but there's a kid in a candy store element to this, okay?
Absolutely.
Rick.
Yeah.
You're on DD and you're shopping, which you do every day, which we all do every day. You're going to pay up. I told Jared about that team I bought yesterday. We all know about that team I bought yesterday, and I'm not going to get into details, but I paid the hell up for it. Mm-hmm. Does have 7 ones over the next 2 years, and the team's ready to win now anyway. But anyway, if you're going to pay up, I'm going to ask you each this question. Okay, I don't want a long answer. What's it got to have? If you're paying up, if you're paying $7.99 for a 250 and you're pulling that trigger, what's it got to have?
For me, it's got to have staying power beyond this year. I've seen some teams that are priced really high, and I would say, a good chance of winning this year. They have Kelsey. They may have Rodgers, some
Devontae Adams,
Nick Chubb, but if you pay you pay what $1,000 on a 250 or something, the most you can win on that is
$1,300. You come in first or second in the league.
Yeah, so your ability to make a profit isn't that big unless you turn it into a couple year monster. So you need some picks, you need some youth. That's what I'm looking for is something that I can win more than 1 year, or win 1 year and then I know I can sell it because it has the picks.
Jared, on your $3.99 team, what made you buy that team? What made you pay up on that team? What was there that said, you know what, I'm paying up?
Well, similarly to what Rick said, I mean, it's got to be obvious that it can win right now. It's got to have enough capital that, it's going to have that staying power. But, like in every other format or when you draft a team, don't we always talk about how there's always going to be one weakness after you come out of a draft, and like you kind of got to maybe choose what that weakness is going to be? Well, one of these teams, I want it to not have any weaknesses. It needs to be elite or strong everywhere. And some of that's perception. I might like a guy that I think of as elite that other guys don't, and that, might factor into the price or something. But
sure.
But I mean, yeah, it's got to have all those things. But I only bought like a couple out of premium, and I'm not even sure if I want to pay sticker price, the 250 for a 250, if it's not really, really good, because I can do better in a startup, in my opinion.
And that's what me and Rick always talk about, and we go back and forth, and we sit there. All right, this team's got 1-1, 3 3s, a 4, 7. Can I do better than that? And that's a smart way to do that. So, both of you guys, I'll start with you, Rick. You're buying a 77 for a 29. What's a rebuild got to have for you to even go ahead and entertain it? Is it the key running back? Does it have 2 futures? What's something that says, you know what, I'll buy this? Because I know you buy a bunch of them and rehab them. What are you looking for?
I think a couple of the bigger name players, people that, I see the teams that are moving. I know that I can probably get overvalue for Justin Jefferson or Cam Akers. Maybe I can turn Cam Akers into James Robinson and a future 1. Something I know I can get a 2-for-1 on it.
Right.
And that's what I'm looking for. Or on a super flex team, something that maybe just has the quarterbacks situated. And I know they're good for 15 years, and then I can start working with the other pieces. And you can, over the years, accumulate the rest of the positions and fill it in.
That's a great point. I'm gonna let Jared answer this also. I'm very similar. I'm looking for something with McCaffrey on it, knowing I'm getting rid of McCaffrey and getting 3 pieces and starting to rebuild the team. You're looking for that piece. How about you, Jared?
Well, like I said, most of these teams, these 20 teams that I've bought from you guys, it's I think all of them except maybe 2 are actually ready to compete right now with, a few tweaks and moves. I think they're good, solid teams. The 2 that I would consider like sort of full rebuilds are closer to like a regret purchase than something I would say was preordained this way. I mean, rebuilding a team is a whole nother ball game. And so like I kind of said before, this market period between the Super Bowl and the end of the cut down deadline in March, man, you can make some really great deals. You can get some really, really good players that you like. Maybe the other people don't, but like if you've got a list of those kind of targets, man, you can get – this is a deal that should have been vetoed probably, but this guy maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, right before the cut down, he traded a future 4th rounder for the package of Brandon Cooks and Ronald Jones II. I don't really particularly like either one of those guys, but oh my gosh, that price is insane.
I like that price.
Yeah. I made a ton of deals, not that good, but I mean, I know that those deals are out there. I know that I'm going to buy one of these teams in February, and I'm going to make 3 or 4 of those kind of deals if it's a team that's of the rebuilding nature. I mean, I don't need more than like maybe say 3 or 4 big pieces on that team to feel comfortable about competing with it. I mean, if it's got Kelsey and McCaffrey, I almost don't care about the other 14 names. Like if I have some draft capital to go with that,
exactly. I agree with you 1,000%. I like that. Heather, you flipping any teams up there? Heather?
Yeah, it just makes me think like you do that and then somebody gets hurt and
Sure. Rip it up.
That's that.
It's just like betting a horse and he falls. You rip it up, man. It's the way it goes. Okay, let's move on. League strategies. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit here. Rick and I, this is the conversation me and Rick had probably 3 times in the last 3 days. I'll throw it to you, Jared. You're playing. You willing to give up value to make a run, or are you willing to give up value in a maiden draft to try to get where you want to get to, even though the calculator and it's not a good deal? The calculator doesn't know what the draft board looks like, okay? It doesn't know. The calculator didn't know that situation I was in this morning, Rick, that me and you were talking about. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, not a lot of times, I'm going to tell you almost every time in these maiden drafts, people are putting the numbers in, okay? Calculator spits out this 64 to 60. No way, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving this guy value. But you're really not giving him value, right? So are you willing to give up value to get where you need to get?
Yeah. And I think you have to be.
Right.
Listen, I come from a poker background too, okay? I played a lot of poker. I've cashed at the World Series of Poker a couple times. Like, tournament poker, and I think specifically FFPC Dynasty, punishes those that are too risk averse. Now, I'm not saying you should be too risk tolerant and necessarily be too loose. That's one strategy. People can do that successfully. But in this format, cutting down to 16, as fast as people can rebuild their teams, you really can't afford to be stagnant. And so as far as giving up value to like win now, first of all, what is value? It's a perception of market value. And listen, if I can trade away a player that I think is on the decline and gain a player that I think is on the upswing, but on paper I'm losing a little bit of value to do it, I'm going to do that almost every time. Yep. And listen, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But when you do this kind of thing thousands of times, I mean, like, supposedly if you're a good owner and you believe in what you're doing, and you believe in your tiers and your target players, et cetera, then you should be coming out ahead more often than not.
I agree with you.
You know, if you got to get a vending machine that costs $1, and you have $1 in your bill in your pocket, and you have $1 in your pocket, but the dollar bill receptacle is broken and it only takes coins, and you've called everybody in your league to make change for $1. Nobody has it, but somebody's got 3 quarters for you for that $1. Do you do it knowing that you can take that 4th quarter out of your pocket to get that Coke, and that Coke is the player that gets you to a championship? You know, absolutely. Now, a Coke is nothing compared to our net worth, but you look at a roster spot in FFPC, it's pretty valuable. How many calculators show how much saving a roster spot is worth in February or March?
Right. No, you're right. Rick, and you going by what Jared said, you've been punished a few times. Haven't you, Rick?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
You mean on the risk side?
On the risk side, you've been punished a few times.
Sure.
I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but
no, we all have. I'm just teasing you, but we've all done that.
Yeah, I think, you know, to Jared's point, that's how you see some of these teams that are just, they go up for sale and like, wow, how did this guy build this team? Because he made 3 or 4 of those risk players before they were worth what they were worth. Like, say, early in the season last year, you were selling, I don't know, an established player for the young backs or the young receivers that, you know, maybe weren't turning out yet. Right now, you could be sitting there with all the, you know, the Akers, the Swifts, and the Dobbins because
Jefferson, right?
Yeah,
and I think to both you guys' points here and Heather's, of course, that you have to take chances, and everything we do is our own individual perception of this particular player, right? There's also, you have to factor in team need. You know, yeah, I might have to give away a better player because I don't have a quarterback in Superflex, and you're not going to win if you don't have 2 quarterbacks, you know? So you got to do what you got to do, and that's all cool. So let's talk about the Masters draft that Jared followed pretty closely here. Before I get everybody out of here. Pull her up, Heather. Heather. Thank you, Heather. Okay. So, again, this is the 3rd week in a row, but you're also the 3rd guest in a row because I like hearing your opinions. Okay. Knowing what happened, talk to me about taking wideouts early in these kind of drafts. You know, when you know you got good players playing, you know you got good players, nothing's falling to you.
Say the last part again. You cut off. I'm sorry.
Well, in this draft, let's take from 1-7 down without calling any of my friends' names out. Again,
Yeah.
No. Again, 1-7 down. Are you taking a back there, or are you balling up and taking that receiver you like there? Whatever.
Well, I mean, okay, so it depends. Every season, I'm going to try to, regardless of format, whether it's FFPC or not, I'm trying to get a read on the fantasy landscape and on the NFL landscape, and I'm trying to be ahead of the curve. So this season, I might have a different approach than last season, okay? Now, I agree with your take about how basically if you want running backs, you got to take them early, and it's going to dry up quick. Now, everybody knows that. But in this particular draft, and at the end of the 1st round, I do like taking a wide receiver there. You know, A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf, no problem. Because I know I'm going to get 2 more running backs out of those first 3 rounds. Or I don't know that, but that's my plan, and I've done this enough times that I'm confident in that approach. Yeah. And, you know, and I actually did one of these recently. I had the 8th pick, and I took A.J. Brown. And I don't remember how it all worked out, but, like, I ended up with Gibson and Akers and Javonte Williams and Hawkinson in the first 4 rounds. Okay, so I moved up. You know, I was willing to spend some capital to get there, but I got 3 what I consider to be probable, you know, stud starting running backs. Yeah. Like I told you before, I can't cross the street in fantasy football without finding a wide receiver that's worth starting. I want one of the elite ones at the top if I can possibly get it. But other than that, I mean, wide receiver is so easy to replace, whereas running back is not. I'm still going to look for other running back values later and, you know, scour the rookie ranks and everything else. But I don't see any issue with going wide receiver early. And, you know, a few years ago, the landscape was, I think, opposite.
So it's funny. So you say some good things. So, and Rick and I always refer to Rick and I because we talk 17 times a day about this stuff. So you can't replace the running back yet.
Right.
You know what I'm going to say right now, Rick? No.
Nope.
Okay. So yet during the season, you're not going to get a wideout to change your team and help you win a league, but you are going to get a James Robinson or a running back that can change your fortunes during a year, right, Rick?
Yeah, so this came up on, I think, last week. If a running back goes down and the starter, somebody goes in, they're getting 15 touches a game. A receiver gets hurt, you throw a backup or his handcuff in, maybe he's getting 60 catches, 700 yards, but he's not putting you over the top typically. I think
it's an interesting conversation. Obviously it's more for redraft, but it is legit in Dynasty. You don't see too many receivers coming along in week 7 that take you to a championship, yet you can find a running back. Shit, who's my hero, Rick? Give me a running back that was my hero, Mr. Mike Davis, who I picked up in 28 leagues last year. It was a big move for me. You're not going to find that as much on wideout. So you're drafting in maidens. I'll ask each of these guys. You're going to reach if you get stuck because – again, we'll go into this draft, and I don't know who drafted him or whatever, and I'm just picking a name out of the hat. You go into round 6 or 7, let's say 7. Are you reaching for Melvin Gordon, or are you going for 7-1, you grabbing, a stud like Galladay, or are you just going to reach and suck on it and take Melvin Gordon, and that's just the way it broke down?
Personally, I'm rarely taking this format in Dynasty, taking the guy that only has a year or two, unless, I can't imagine. I haven't done that yet. I was going to say if he's only missing piece, but at the 7th round, you have a lot of gaps. So I'm looking for the best player.
I had to do that. I had to do that this morning with the situation I was in with the sickest wide receiver core in fantasy football history, great running backs. I needed a third quarterback, and I ended up having to use my 11th round pick on Roethlisberger today, which I wasn't.
11th round is different to me than the 7th round, where there's still a lot of studs sitting out there.
Right. Are you reaching, Jared, or are you staying true to your board and taking the best player?
When I do a startup, kind of like all these other topics, I'm saying I want to win in year 1. I want to win right away. I'm not trying to – I want to build for the future with staying power, but I'm looking to win right away and come out of a startup with no weaknesses whatsoever. Now, and typically I love my teams when I get done drafting them. But if I do find myself stuck somehow, I think usually I try not to reach and maybe even double down on whatever that weakness is that emerged. If you're talking about, that weakness being running back, no, I'm not reaching for Melvin Gordon in the 7th. I have absolutely taken one of the top receivers there. I love the receiver tiers at that area a lot more, like dramatically more. I'm not in that position terribly often, but if I feel like I've come out of those first 3 or 4 rounds with at least 2 good running backs that I like, I might punt on running back for 10 more rounds. I'm not going.
Jared, if you were in this draft, these are some of the best players in FFPC, and there's people that got stuck on RB.
I saw that. Yeah.
If you were following this, people got some really good players that I respect a lot, got stuck. Now, the season hasn't started. They're probably going to end up moving some of their premium wide receiver talent, to make a move for running back here and there. This is April, but people got stuck in this draft.
Yeah, I would expect I'm doing one more startup in June, and it's going to be a bunch of really good owners, all bad as we actually reached out to Balky and the FFPC folks to create the special league just for us, and I expect it to be very similar to your guys' Masters draft, other than we'll have the NFL draft to inform us beforehand. But
Yeah.
I don't think those first 4 rounds are going to change like much. I'm not suggesting to punt on running back. Like I want to come out there with at least 2. And there's some of those areas there, depending on like how my board looks, how my tiers look, where, like the one I was talking about, I took Javonte Williams as my 3rd running back because I just didn't like the receivers that were there or whatever. But I agree with your take though about like that backup receiver that replaces the injured one. It's not going to be the same as like the backup running back that comes in the season. But by the time I get to week 1, like I'm going to be pretty disappointed on any roster that doesn't have tons of wide receiver options. If I don't have wide receiver options, I'm doing something wrong.
I like it. Moving on. Couple more questions for you before I get you out of here. And I want to thank you again for being a customer and finding us and coming on tonight. Been great. Love chatting with you. And a maiden, you ever trading your future one, or you hold that forever?
I usually, more often than not, I will trade it and move up. I want to build the best team up front that I can. To me, draft picks on some level are just kind of like funny money, monopoly money. Like believe me, I value them, and I use them wisely, I think. But I'm absolutely willing to move up into the current draft, spend that capital to get the guys that I want to get. And then I think you mentioned in a past show the idea that you're going to be able to recoup that later. And my experience backs that up. I mean, like I will be able to recoup that later.
Of course.
I don't know if I've ever really gone into a draft without any draft capital. Even if I went into that off season without much draft capital, I make moves to get into it.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean,
but I like to let the draft come to me also, like the one I did with you, actually, we did a startup a couple months ago. It's a super flex. I walked out of there with what I think is a killer team, but I also ended up with 3 future first round picks. I wasn't trying to do that. It just kind of played out that way. So I like to try to bob and weave where it's appropriate. I don't have like a set strategy per se.
Okay. Last question before we get out of here. We've had 2 shows on it. Just want to hear JT or C-Mac for you, buddy. Who is it?
I thought this was going to be harder than or easier than it was until I heard the debate on that show. I thought it was a really well done debate by both guys. And I was thinking I would be going with Jonathan Taylor the whole time. And then I had to be reminded that McCaffrey's only 24. And I know I knew that before, but every time I hear that, I'm like, man, really?
Right.
And I agree with the Buffalo Alcoholic. He was saying, he's really – McCaffrey is so good at the way he goes down and avoids contact. I don't see why he can't have 3 uber elite McCaffrey-type seasons that we are used to seeing. I love Jonathan Taylor, though, too, and I really don't fault somebody for taking him. But, yeah, I think I pretty much got to go McCaffrey there.
The Taco Corporation just texted me and said he appreciates your possible support on the JT at number 1. Guys, I don't have any more questions. Rick, you got anything you want to talk to Jared about, or are we tapped out everything here?
No, good. I mean, I'd like to talk to him again, get some more perspective. A lot of good knowledge, Jared. Thanks for coming on. Good stuff.
Good stuff, man. Really good stuff. Jared, where anybody wants to look you up and see what you're doing, where can they find you, buddy?
I've got a Twitter account. It's at PolyPsych101. It's POLIPSYCH 101. It was originally like a politically themed account. It's kind of that and a personal one, and now fantasy football as well. So whatever, but you can get me there.
Heather, tell us about that Nerds promotion again, will you please?
Yes, sir. Go to dynastydepot.com. The world's only auction site for buying and selling FFPC Dynasty teams. Enter the promo code NERDS50 to get 50% off any annual Dynasty Depot membership, and then you will get a code to go to Dynasty Nerds for a free membership.
Tremendous. It's a great deal. DynastyDepot.com, NERDS50, 50% off. Come on board.
Hey, I got
go ahead, Rick.
I got a late breaking trade offer I'd like to get some input on.
Let's do it.
Live. I have Joe Mixon. Would you give up Joe Mixon for Melvin Gordon in a 2022 first and a 2.9 this year?
Future 209 this year, and the aforementioned Melvin Gordon.
For me, at face value, that's a question of team needs more than value. This is one of those things where value says, yeah, take that deal. I kind of like that. Is that future first projected to be late? Who knows? It's so hard with FFPC rules.
Yeah.
But I'm not really trying to move for Gordon. And, if I'm looking at my roster, is Mixon a guy that I think I'm going to have to count on, then I'm probably going to keep him. But
Rick, is it a win now team, and what are your other backs on that team?
Swift, Gibson. I have Pittman, A-Rob, Jefferson, Goddard, Hawkinson, Kyler Murray.
I smash accept that offer.
I've already pushed the button for you over here.
Yeah.
You're taking it?
Both of us. Yes. So we had to get a little more info there, Jared. What the hell he's doing over there?
If you got Swift and Gibson, then you're gonna find another third running back at some point that you really like, whether it's this season or not. That's a competitive team. I'd take that first all day. Plus Gordon is maybe worth starting at some point this year. Maybe you flip him for a ham sandwich.
I can tell you, I moved Mixon the other day for 106. A 1 and a 2 next year. It was also a very quick accept by me. So, Heather,
right.
social call-outs. Heather, social call-outs.
You got it. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm on like a 2-second delay.
That's okay.
I know you're always like Heather. Twitter. Heather. So all I hear in my sleep is JT, C-Mac, Heather, JT, C-Mac, Heather. At the Dynasty Depot on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, Dynasty Depot, www.dynastydepot.com.
Heather, because we couldn't see you, I want to see, pretend you're sleeping. Jake, give us that. Give us that again.
So I do them. It's like Heather, JT, C-Mac. Who you got at 101? Who you got at 101?
Hey, so next week is we got 2 shows left. Okay, and it doesn't get any better than this. Next week, our pre-draft Dynasty Depot Especiale with my great friend, and this guy's got some fizzle information on the money. My buddy Nate Christian next week. 2 weeks from Wednesday will be our closing show with Mr. Bob Harris and Mr. John Laub, the football diehards, both of them gracing us with their presence live on Dynasty Depot. And that will be our post-draft. And then you can find me for the next 4 months on my jet skis and not talking to any of you anymore.
Oh, I'll be emailing you, Nelson. I'm going to email you every day.
Heather, give it to the woman, but do it loud. Do it right. Heather, Heather.
Heather.
See, Mac.
All customer service calls are going to you now, by the way.
That is correct, Rick. Thank you for that.
And I'll be taking them with my headsets on 90. Anyway, thanks again to our very good friend, Jared Hines. We cannot wait to have you back on. We are going to stay in communication. We thank you for your business, your knowledge. It was a lot of fun. See you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Dynasty Depot podcast, the best source for what's hot in Dynasty Fantasy Football team action. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the Dynasty Depot. And listeners get a 30-day free rookie membership. Go to dynastydepot.com and use promo code PODCAST. Dynasty Depot. Bid, buy, sell, dominate.